whispers crawl beneath the skin, a shadow's grin.
The Mason's mark. The summons came on a day the color of old lead. Alaric felt it in his bones before the bishop's messenger, a young man with eyes like wet slate, even reached his workshop. The air tasted of coming rain and forgotten things. He was an old man now, his hands gnarled like the roots of an oak, but the stone still spoke to him. It whispered of weight and time and patience, and now it whispered of the cathedral. Saint Aurelius Cathedral, his life's work, his symphony in sandstone and ambition. He had not set foot in its shadow for over 20 years. A finished building was a living thing, and he believed it deserved to grow old without its midwife hovering. But Bishop Valerius remembered him. The message was polite, edged with steel. His expertise was required. There was a matter of some settling. The journey to the city was a blur of aching joints and misty fields. The cathedral, when it first pierced the horizon, stole his breath as it had the first time he'd seen the sight. It soared, a prayer frozen in stone, its spires defying the heavy sky. But as his cart drew nearer, Alaric's artist's eye, long dormant for this particular creation, began to see not the whole but the parts. The flow of lines, the balance of mass, the thousand tiny decisions of his younger self. And with it, a cold seed of unease took root in his gut. He was brought not to the great doors, but to a small postern gate. The bishop received him in a private chamber, a room rich with tapestries and the smell of beeswax and piety. Bishop Valerius had aged into his power. His face was smooth, placid as a pond, but his eyes were deep, holding the clever, calculating light of a theologian who debates damnation over dinner. "Master Alaric," the bishop said, his voice a warm, dry thing, "you look well. The years have been kinder to you than to my poor cathedral." "Stone endures, your grace," Alaric replied, his voice rough from disuse and the road. "Does it?" The bishop smiled, a thin curve. "We have cracks, strange ones, not the honest settling of age, but something more deliberate. I thought of you immediately. After all, who knows the body of Saint Aurelius better than its architect, and who better to understand the nature of a special commission?" The words hung in the air, special commission. Alaric's blood, already slow, seemed to thicken. He said nothing, only gave a slow nod. "You are free to investigate," the bishop continued, turning to gaze out at the nave through a lancet window. "The fabric of our faith must be maintained in all its aspects." The dismissal was clear. Alaric left the chamber, the phrase "special commission" echoing in the vaults of his memory. He walked through the cathedral not as a worshipper, but as a surgeon returned to a patient he'd long thought healed. The grandeur was overwhelming, the light through the stained glass painting the air in saints' robes. But his eyes were drawn downward, to the joints between stones, to the bases of pillars. And then he saw them, cracks, but the bishop was wrong. They were not signs of weakness. They were too precise, too ordered. Faint lines in the mortar, radiating from a central point beneath the high altar, forming patterns that teased the edge of recognition. They were not fractures. They were sigils, growing clearer by the day. Well, he had to see the roof. The climb up the spiral stair to the roof space was a journey back in time. The smell of damp stone and old timber was exactly as he remembered. He emerged onto the leaded roof walk, the wind pulling at his cloak. The city lay below like a child's model. He moved with purpose, past the ranks of saintly figures and angelic hosts, all carved under his direction, all channeling rainwater from the sacred space with open mouths and gaping drains. He went to the northwest corner, the least visited, the most exposed. and there it was, just as he had carved it on a feverish, secret night a lifetime ago. The bishop's special commission, not a saint, not an angel, a gargoyle, but unlike the others, designed to spew water clear of the wall, this one was different. It was a twisted, bat-winged thing, its face a mask of intelligent malice, and its mouth was not open to eject. It was pursed, a funnel, its throat a carved channel that drank the rainwater, sucking it down into the very bowels of the cathedral. Alaric ran a trembling hand over its dry lips. Not a drop had ever fallen from it. Every storm, every drizzle, it had swallowed. He remembered the bishop's words from decades past, the young, ambitious cleric with fire in his eyes, a vault master mason, a secret one below the deepest crypt, to hold relics too powerful, too dangerous for common eyes. The very cornerstone of our faith must lock it away, and you will build the lock, a single stone, a key known only to you and to God. Carve us a guardian, not a pretty one. Let it be a warning. Alaric had asked what the relics were. The bishop had said, the dregs of a miracle, the shadow of Saint Aurelius's victory, better left unnamed. And Alaric, flush with the pride of the great work, drunk on the trust of the church, had obeyed. He had designed the vault himself, a chamber of fitted stone, sealed with lead and a prayer. And for its lock, he devised a mechanism of spiritual hydraulics. The gargoyle was no mere ornament, it was a spiritual siphon. He had designed it to channel not just water, but the waters of faith, the collective prayers, the sanctity of the Mass, the very blessing of the place, downward, to consecrate and reinforce the vault's seals. It was his masterpiece of mystical masonry, or so he had believed. Now looking at the dry, hungry mouth, he felt a fool. He had not built a lock, he had built a tap, and someone was turning it. The unraveling began in earnest. Alaric took lodgings in the city, telling the bishop he was conducting a survey. He spent days in the cathedral archives, studying his own faded plans, comparing them to the growing network of cracks in the foundation. The sigils were becoming unmistakable, a language of binding, but reversed, inverted. They were not containing, they were inviting. Then the deaths started. Lord Benedict, a nobleman known for his vocal opposition to the bishop's expansion of church taxes, died when his townhouse mysteriously caught fire. The servants spoke of flames that seemed green and cold, and of screams that sounded choked, as if the smoke itself had claws. Master Thorne, a guild leader who had denied the bishop's land claims, was found in his stone yard, crushed beneath a perfectly cut block that had somehow fallen from a stable pile. The stone, it was whispered, bore a faint, heatless burn in the shape of a clenched fist. The city murmured of curse and coincidence. Alaric saw a pattern. Each death mirrored an ancient illustration from a manuscript he once saw, the torments of hell, fire for the greedy, crushing stone for the prideful. The bishop's political enemies were being culled, and their deaths were not just murders, they were offerings. One night in the silent cathedral, Alaric descended into the crypts. He passed the tombs of bishops and kings, going deeper to the rough-hewn foundations where the air was cold and still as a tomb. Using his old plans, he found the hidden door, a section of wall that looked seamless but to his knowing touch. The mechanism, a counterweighted stone, still moved. The bishop had been here, recently. The chamber beyond was small, round, and empty. But in the center of the floor, the cracks were most dense, swirling into a complex, ugly rosette. And in the air, a smell lingered beneath the dust, ozone and hot metal and something sweetly wrought like incense on a corpse. He placed his palm on the central stone of the vault lid, far below this chamber. The stone was not cold. It held a faint, rhythmic vibration, a slow, subterranean pulse, like the heartbeat of something sleeping. And it was getting stronger. He had to confront the bishop. He found Valerius in the crypt before a plain stone altar that Alaric had not carved. The bishop was not praying. He was watching the cracks in the floor, his face lit with a fervent, hungry light. "It is almost time," Valerius said, not turning. "You feel it, don't you, Mason? The patient pressure, the turning of the key." "What key?" Alaric demanded, his voice echoing in the hollow space. "What did you have me lock away?" "The petitioner," the bishop whispered, his eyes gleaming. "When Saint Aurelius drove the darkness from this land, he could not destroy its prince. He bound it, imprisoned it here in the earth. He built a humble church above it to weigh it down with faith. My cathedral, your cathedral, is not just a house of God, it is a lid on a well." "Then the gargoyle." "Your brilliance," Valerius said, turning to him with a smile. "The lock, a channel for the weight of faith, but a lock can be picked by redirecting the flow. Instead of blessing pouring down to reinforce the seals, it can be drawn out, siphoned away. Every prayer from above, every hymn, every moment of genuine devotion in my cathedral, your gargoyle drinks it, channels it away. It erodes the saint's bindings, weakens the prison." "The deaths," Alaric said, horror dawning, "they are not just for your politics." "Fuel," the bishop nodded. "The entity hungers. Their sins, their violent ends, their fear, it is sustenance. A tithe. It grows stronger on them, and in return it grants favors, removes obstacles." "You are making a pact with a demon." "A petitioner," Valerius corrected. "A fallen spirit of immense power. I do not want to destroy it. Destruction is wasteful. I want to harness it. With its power, the church will not just guide kingdoms. It will be the kingdom. The final age of man will begin with the throne of heaven and hell united under this roof." "You are mad." "I am visionary," the bishop snapped, his calm fracturing. "And you, old man, you built the door, you should be proud. Tonight, during the high mass with the king himself in attendance, we complete the turning, the final ritual, the last tithes." Alaric's blood ran cold. The king, the young, pious king, was visiting, a symbol of the harmony between crown and cross, a man beloved by his people. "A living sacrifice on the high altar," Valerius breathed. "A king's soul, offered willingly in the heart of God's own house. The paradox will shatter the final seal. The petitioner will rise, and I will be its interlocutor, its voice on earth. I will stop you." The bishop laughed, a dry, papery sound. "How? You are a stoneworker. I am the bishop. Who will believe you? The cathedral itself is my ally. Its stones have ears. Go, Alaric, watch. Witness the birth of a new world from the shadows, as you once witnessed the birth of its spire from the scaffold." Alaric was thrown from the cathedral, his tools confiscated, a quiet word given to the guards to keep the old fool away. The city was alive with festive fervor for the royal mass. Bells pealed, crowds gathered. Inside, the cathedral would be packed, glowing with 1,000 candles, resonating with song. He stood in the square, a speck against the monumental facade. His eyes traced the lines upward to the northwest corner. He could not reach the bishop. He could not warn the king. The stone faces of saints looked down upon the crowd, blind to the corruption festering in their roots. Then he looked at his hands, the hands that had built it all. They knew every joint, every stress, every secret. The bishop was right. The cathedral was his ally, but it was also Alaric's child, and a child might listen to its father. He did not head for the doors. He slipped into an alley, to a forgotten drain cover he had designed for the mason's access. It was rusty, but it yielded. He dropped down into the profound darkness beneath the streets, into the labyrinth of foundations he had overseen. He knew the way by heart, the map etched in his soul. Through tunnels of dripping stone, past the throbbing, warm pulse of the vault, he found the ancient internal staircase, a straight, tight shaft for builders, leading up through the wall to the roof space. The Mass had begun. He could feel it through the stone, a vibration of organ and chant. The water of faith was flowing at its peak, and above, his gargoyle was drinking it all in, a spiritual vortex funneling down to erode the last barriers. He emerged onto the roof. The storm that had been threatening all day finally broke. Rain lashed the laid and the stone saints. Wind howled around the spires. Lightning lit the sky in sudden, silent flashes. In each stark, white burst, the gargoyle seemed to move, to lean greedily into the rain. Alaric approached it, hammer and chisel in his hands, not to destroy it. That might rupture the mechanism catastrophically. He had to perform surgery. He had to sever the conduit. He climbed onto the narrow parapet beside the figure, the wind tearing at him. Below, through the storm, he could hear the faint, glorious swell of the Agnus Dei. The sacrifice was nearing its moment. He raised his hammer. He did not strike the gargoyle's head. He placed the chisel with the precision of a lifetime at the specific point in the carved channel of its throat, just where it turned inward into the structure. The master's mark, his mark. With a crack that was lost in thunder, he struck. Stone splintered, not a lot, just a precise internal fracture. The flow was disrupted. The spiritual siphon was broken. In the cathedral below, Bishop Valerius stood over the kneeling king, a ceremonial dagger hidden in his vestment. The words of the pact were on his lips. The pressure in the crypt was immense, a presence straining at a thinning veil. And then it stopped. The glorious sense of impending release vanished, replaced by a sudden, hollow silence. The candles did not go out, but their light seemed to shrink, to draw in on itself. The music from the choir faltered. A different sound began, a low, grinding groan, deep within the fabric of the building. Not the sound of collapse, the sound of movement. Everyone in the nave looked up. Along the columns in the arches, from the corbels and the screens, every stone face Alaric had ever carved, the solemn apostles, the weeping angels, the benevolent saints, the stern kings of Judah turned. With a gritty, granular whisper of stone on stone, they rotated their heads in perfect, unhurried unison. No eyes were painted, yet they all fixed their blank, stony gaze on one point. Bishop Valerius standing frozen by the high altar. And then, as one, they opened their mouths. No sound emerged, no roar, no shriek, but a wave of silent scream poured forth, a vacuum of sound that sucked the breath from every lung. It was a scream of betrayed faith, of polluted sanctity, of stone itself revolting. Bishop Valerius dropped the dagger. His hands flew to his ears, his eyes wide with a terror beyond understanding. He saw the judgment of the very earth, the condemnation of the house he had corrupted. He did not see demons or hellfire. He saw the mute, accusatory faces of 1,000 saints, and in their silent scream, he heard the crumbling of his soul. He fell to the polished floor, not with a cry, but with a whimper, and did not move again. His eyes remained open, staring at the vaulted ceiling he had sought to master, their clever light extinguished. The king was helped to his feet, confused but unharmed. Panic was contained, explained later as a strange gust, a collective delusion, a tragic fit that took the bishop's life. Alaric descended from the roof. He was found, soaked and exhausted, near the builder's entrance. He said nothing of what he knew. His story was simple. He had been inspecting the stonework in the storm. He had heard a strange sound. They called him a hero for his dedication, a fool for his risk. He was not shunned, not officially, but a silence grew around him. The new bishop, a cautious man, quietly had the northwest gargoyle examined. It was found to be flawed, with a crack in its throat. It was repaired crudely with mortar. Alaric left the city soon after. He returned to his workshop, to the quiet companionship of uncarved stone. But sometimes, on still nights, he would look toward the distant spire of Saint Aurelius, and his hands would remember the vibration of that silent scream. Years later, a traveling monk brought him a sketch. It was of the cathedral, drawn by an itinerant artist. The monk pointed to a curious detail. "See here, Master Mason, on that ugly gargoyle. The repair did not hold, or perhaps it was meant to be. It looks like it is weeping." Alaric took the drawing. There, on the northwest corner, was his gargoyle, and from the crude, repaired crack in its throat, the artist had drawn a single, slender trickle of black staining the stone beneath, like a perpetual, petrified tear. Alaric handed the drawing back. "Stone endures," he said, his voice soft, "but it also remembers." He turned back to his block of limestone, raising his mallet and chisel. The first strike rang out, clear and true, a solid sound in a world that had shown him how fragile silence could be. He would carve something simple, he thought, something honest. A leaf, perhaps, just a leaf holding the light.
Shadows in the